Welcome to Growth Formula. Success is not a coincidence. Success is a formula. Join our transformation journey and subscribe now.
In the quiet, electrified corners of the 21st century, a new and invisible social hierarchy is being formed. It is a divide that has nothing to do with the traditional markers of wealth, race, or geography, but is rooted in something far more fundamental to the human experience: the sovereignty of attention. We are currently witnessing the birth of a split-screen humanity. On one side, we see the distracted masses, individuals drifting through their lives as digital puppets, their desires and actions choreographed by invisible algorithms designed in the glass towers of Silicon Valley. On the other side, we find the indistractable elite, a growing class of men and women who have reclaimed the keys to their own consciousness. To understand the growth formula in 2026, we must first confront a truth that is as uncomfortable as it is liberating. You do not have a time management problem. You have a pain management problem. Nir Eyal, a man who famously authored the book Hooked, the very manual that taught the tech titans how to manipulate your dopamine loops, has now turned the tables. In his definitive masterwork, Indistractable, he reveals that focus is not a personality trait or a gift from the gods. It is a defensive system. It is the armor you must wear in the relentless war for your soul. The journey into the indistractable mind begins with a radical and necessary deconstruction of what we casually call distraction. Most people live under the delusion that distraction is caused by the external world, the incessant pings of a smartphone, the dings of an incoming email, or the chaotic noise of an open office plan. These are what Eyal calls external triggers. However, focusing on them is like treating a fever while ignoring the infection. Eyal's research reveals a staggering reality. 90% of our distractions are driven by internal triggers. Distraction, at its core, is an unhealthy escape from an internal discomfort. It is an evolutionary glitch being exploited by modern technology. When we feel bored, when we feel lonely, when we feel incompetent or anxious about a looming deadline, we don't reach for our phones to find information, we reach for them to find relief. We are using social media and digital noise as a high-tech pacifier to soothe the existential friction of being alive. Therefore, the first and most critical step in the growth formula is not to delete your apps or throw away your devices. It is to master your internal climate. You must learn to ride the urge like a professional surfer riding a massive wave. When the impulse to check your notifications arises, you must train yourself to pause for a 10-minute window. Label the feeling. Is it anxiety? Is it the fear of a difficult task? By naming the pain, you move from being a reactive animal driven by impulse to being a conscious architect of your own destiny. You disarm the distraction by shining the light of awareness upon it. To understand the mechanics of this mastery, we must visualize a linear continuum of human action. On one far end, we have traction, any action that pulls you toward the things you truly want in life, toward the person you intend to become. On the opposite end, we have distraction, any action that pulls you away from your core intentions. The profound insight Eyal provides is that the difference between the two is not the action itself, but the intent behind it. Reading a high-level business book can be a distraction if you are doing it specifically to avoid a difficult, high-stakes project. Conversely, browsing a video game can be traction if you have deliberately scheduled that time for rest and recovery. The indistractable person is not a monk who lives in a cave. They are an individual who lives with absolute integrity between their intent and their action. This brings us to the second pillar of the formula, the death of the to-do list. For years, we've been told that lists are the key to productivity, but Eyal and the data argue that they are actually the graveyards of our potential. A list without a specific schedule is merely a wish, a collection of burdens that trigger shame when left unfinished. The elite do not keep lists, they keep calendars. Every single minute of their day is time-boxed. They account for deep work, they account for play, they account for family, and they even account for planned distraction. If you do not plan your day, I guarantee that a marketer, a boss, or an algorithm will plan it for you. You simply cannot call something a distraction unless you know exactly what it distracted you from. But even with a perfect schedule, the external triggers remain a formidable enemy. In our hyper-connected reality, your workspace is essentially a digital minefield. Eyal provides a ruthless protocol for hacking back the technology that is currently hacking your brain. He challenges us to interrogate every single trigger in our lives. Does this notification serve me, or am I serving it? The Indistractable elite have stripped their digital lives down to the bare essentials. They have silenced the noise that others accept as normal. They treat their focus as a sanctuary that requires a high wall and a heavy iron gate. They use browser extensions to block toxic websites. They disable every non-human notification on their devices, and they communicate a clear message to the world. My attention is not a public utility. It is a private and precious luxury. This is not about being anti-technology or a Luddite. It is about being pro-human. It is about reclaiming the tool so that you are the master and the device is the servant. When you walk into a room with an indistractable person, you feel the weight of their presence because they are not partially elsewhere, they are fully here.
The psychological depth of the indistractable philosophy goes even further into the realm of pre-commitments. To ensure we stick to our intentions when our willpower inevitably fades, we must build pacts. Think of these as the fail-safes of the mind. First, there are effort pacts, where we intentionally make a distracting task harder to perform, like leaving your phone in another room or working in a library where the social pressure of silence keeps you focused. Second, there are price pacts, where we attach a direct financial penalty to our failure, leveraging our biological aversion to loss. But the third and most powerful are identity pacts. When you shift your language from "I'm trying to focus" to "I am indistractable," you are no longer describing a temporary habit, you are claiming a new identity. Just as a vegetarian does not try to avoid meat, an indistractable person does not try to stay off their phone during a deep work session. They simply do not do it. It is beneath them. It is not who they are. This shift from "I can't" to "I don't" is the neural bridge to absolute mastery and the cornerstone of the growth formula. We must also look at the distraction-free workspace not as a physical location, but as a sacred state of being. Eyal discusses the importance of social pacts in an era of open offices and remote work. Interruptions are the primary killers of cognitive flow. The indistractable elite use physical focus signals, whether it's a specific pair of heavy headphones, a red light on their desk, or a sign on their door, to communicate one simple, non-negotiable message: I am in the deep. Do not disturb unless there is a literal fire. This boundary setting is not an act of arrogance, it is a profound act of self-respect. If you do not respect your own time, if you treat your attention as something that can be interrupted at any moment for any trivial reason, you are telling the world that your goals do not matter. The world will believe you, and it will continue to feast upon your time. As we move deeper into this decade, the ability to be indistractable will become the lead domino of success. It is the foundational skill that makes every other skill, from coding and creative writing to high-level strategic thinking, possible. The algorithms are getting smarter, the AI is becoming more persuasive, and the digital smog is getting thicker. The growth formula serves as a final warning. If you are not careful, you will be lived by your devices. Your thoughts will not be your own. They will be the echoes of whatever content was pushed to you while you were bored.
But there is another way. By mastering your internal triggers, by time-boxing your life, by hacking back the external world, and by forging identity pacts, you can rise above the noise. You can become the person who does what they say they will do. This is the ultimate competitive advantage in a world of professional drifters. Success is not a coincidence, it is not luck, it is a formula. And the most critical variable in that formula is you, standing as a sovereign guard at the gates of your own mind. Stay focused, stay sovereign, become indistractable, join the elite, solve the formula. The final layer of this transformation is understanding the role of boredom and silence. In the modern world, we have effectively banished boredom. Every microsecond of stillness is immediately filled with a swipe or a click. But Goleman and Eyal both point out that boredom is the fertile soil of the default mode network, the part of the brain where creativity, synthesis, and deep breakthroughs occur. When you kill your boredom, you kill your genius. To be indistractable is to have the courage to sit in a room with nothing but your own thoughts. It is the ability to endure the friction of a difficult problem without reaching for a digital escape. The elite understand that the most important work often feels boring or painful in the beginning. They don't run from that pain. They use it as a signal that they are touching something meaningful. They know that on the other side of that friction lies the flow state, where time disappears and greatness is born. In conclusion, your journey with the growth formula is about more than just productivity metrics or finishing books. It is about the reclamation of your human agency. In a world that wants to turn you into a consumer of distractions, being indistractable makes you a creator of value. It is the difference between being a victim of the 21st century and being a master of it. As you go forward, remember that every choice to stay focused is a vote for the person you want to become. The war for your attention will never end, but with the right armor, you can never be defeated. This is the masterclass of your life. The gates are open. The formula is yours to solve.